Tantra appears life affirmative, but that again is our interpretation. Neither is Buddha life-denying, nor is Tantra life affirmative. The source is the same. Buddha focuses on death, Tantra focuses on life, and both are one. So wherever you want to start, start. But go so deeply that you come to know the other also. Buddha focuses on the end, death. Tantra focuses on the beginning, life. That is why Buddha seems to be too much in love with death, and Tantra seems to be too much in love with sex, love, body, and life. In the end there is death, and in the beginning there is sex. Because Tantra focuses itself on the beginning, sex becomes very important. So Tantra's approach is how to go deep and know what sex is, how to reveal the mystery of love, how to penetrate into the beginning, into the seed, so that you can go beyond. Buddha focuses on death, and he says to meditate deeply on death, move into it, and know the whole reality of it. Both are two ends of the same thing. Sex is death, and death is very sexual. It will likely be difficult to understand. There are many insects which die with their first intercourse, the first sex act, and death occurs because sex and death are so interconnected. Because of this, man became afraid of sex. Those who want to live more, who are fascinated with long life, they will be always afraid of sex. And for those who think that they can become immortal, celibacy will be their cult. No one has yet been immortal in this body, and no one can be because you are born out of sex. Sex has already entered with your birth. Whether you go into sex or not makes no difference. You cannot escape death. Your very being starts with sex, and sex is the beginning of death. True death is impossible. When the beginning is not, how can the end be? Because of this deep association, many times many societies have become afraid of sex. That fear is of death. No one allows himself a total let-go in it. The fear is there, you are on guard. You cannot go into it totally. You cannot let yourself go completely, because that let-go is just like death. Neither is Tantra for your idea of life, nor is Buddha against the real life. Tantra starts from one part, the beginning. Buddha starts with the end. And Tantra is more scientific than Buddha because it is always good to begin at the beginning. You are already born, death is far away, birth has occurred, you can work on it more deeply, death has to occur. It is still in the imagination, it is not a reality to you. And when you see someone die, you never see death. You see someone dying, never the death, the process which happens to him inside. You cannot see it, it is invisible, it is individual. And the individual himself cannot say anything, because the moment he goes through the process, he is no more. No one knows anything about death, actually. Unless you can remember your past lives, you cannot actually know anything about death. You have died many times. That is why Buddha had to revive many techniques about remembering past lives. Because your death of this life is in the future, how can you concentrate on it? How can you meditate on it? It has not happened yet. It is very vague, dark, unknown. What can you do? You can only think about it, but that thinking will also be borrowed. You will be repeating what others have said. Someone has said something about death, and you will be repeating it. How can you meditate on death? You can see others dying, but that is not a real entry into it. It is just as if someone is eating a sweet. You look at him, but how can you feel what is happening to him? What taste, what sweetness, what fragrance is happening to him? What is going on in him you cannot know. You can just look at his mouth, his behavior, or you can see the expression on his face, but this not actual experience. You cannot know what is happening to him unless he says something, but whatsoever he says will be words to you, and again, not an experience. Buddha talked about his past deaths, but no one believed him. If he tells you something about his past deaths, deep down you will not believe it, because you do not have any access to the reality of it for now. It is difficult to meditate on death. Tantra is more scientific. It starts with life, with birth, with sex, which is a fact to you. Death is still a fiction, but remember, the end of both is the same. They both are in search of eternal life, life which is deathless. Either transcend the beginning or transcend the end, either jump from one pole or from another. And remember, you can jump out of it only from a pole. You cannot jump from the middle. If I want to jump out of this room, either I have to move to this side to the extreme or to that side to the extreme. I cannot jump out from the middle of the room because jumping is possible only from the extreme pole. And there are two extreme poles in life: birth and death. Tantra starts from birth. It is more scientific, more real. You are already in it, so you can meditate upon it. Sex is a fact, so you can meditate upon it. You can move deep within it. Death is not a fact. A very rare mind is needed to conceive of death. A very keen intellect is needed to penetrate into the future. Rarely it happens that a Buddha will conceive of death so deeply that the future becomes the present. But it is always for rare individuals. Tantra can be used by anyone who has any interest, who has any desire to search in order to know what real life is. But Tantra also uses death just to help you move inwards, not for you to meditate on it, not for you to jump out of it, but to help you move inwards. Buddha also talked about birth just to make it a part of the meditation on death. The other part can be used as a help, but is not the center. Tantra says, if you can think about death, your life will take a different meaning, shape, and significance. Your mind will start thinking in new dimensions, which without death would be difficult or even impossible. The moment you begin to feel that this life is going to end in death, death becomes a certainty and you cannot cling to this life. Mind starts moving beyond. If you think about just this life, your mind will go outwards. It will go out and out and out to the objects. If you begin to look and see that death is hidden everywhere, then you cannot cling to objects. Your mind will start moving inwards. It is easy to die for anyone. It is very difficult to live. It is very easy to die. To be a martyr is such an easy thing. It is such an easy thing to be a martyr because it is a momentary thing. You can do it in a single moment. If you love me and I say, jump out of this building, you can jump because you feel you love me. But if I say, okay, now live with me for 30 years, it is very difficult, very difficult. You can become a martyr in a single moment. To die for someone, for something, is the easiest thing in the world. To live for something is the most arduous and difficult thing. The idea of death may seem too much, even impossible to live with. However, it can become a turning point. If you can become aware of death, says Tantra, use it as a tool of turning inwards. There is no need to go into details about death, no need to go on contemplating about it. Do not make it an obsession. Just the awareness that death is there will help you to move inwards, to be meditative. How can the mind be transcended and transformed? Only by bringing the body to a death-like state. The mind is constantly active. While you are active, meditation is impossible, because meditation means a deep inactivity. You can know yourself only when everything has become still, silent, and quiet. Only then, in that silence, do you happen to encounter yourself. Otherwise, in activity you are so much occupied with something or other, you cannot feel your own presence. You go on forgetting yourself. Continuously with this or that object, you go on forgetting yourself. Activity means being related with something outside. You are active because you are related with something outside, doing something outside. Inactivity means you have returned home, you are not doing anything. In Greek language, leisure is called scholi. The English word school comes from this Greek word. School means leisure. You can learn something only when you are at leisure. Learning happens in leisure. If you are active, doing this and that, you cannot learn. Schools were for the leisure class, those who could afford leisure. Their children were sent to schools, to places of leisure. They were not to do anything but learn. They were allowed total inactivity as far as the world was concerned. They were freed from all worldly activity, and then they could learn. The phenomenon is similar. If you want to learn about your own presence, you will have to be completely inactive. Completely inactive, just being, not doing anything. All the ripples must cease, all activity must evaporate. You are simply, you are. In that moment, for the first time, you become aware of your own presence. Why? Because the presence is so subtle. Occupied with a gross object, engaged with gross activity, you cannot become aware of such a subtle presence. It is a very silent music, your presence. And you are so much filled with noise, and every type of noise is occupying you, that you cannot hear that still, small voice within. Cease being engaged in outward noises and activities. Then that still, small voice, for the first time is heard, that soundless sound, that soundless music is felt. You enter the subtle and leave the gross. Activity, ice gross. Inactivity is subtle, and your presence is the most subtle thing in the world. To feel that, you will have to cease, you will have to be absent from everywhere, so that your total presence comes in and you can encounter yourself. That is why in many techniques it is suggested to make your body as if it is dead. It means simply being inactive like a dead man. While you are meditating, let your body enter death. It will be imagination, but even that will help. Do not ask how imagination can help. Imagination has its own function. For example, now scientific experiments are done. You sit down, there is a doctor, and he is observing your pulse rate. Inside, you just start being angry, you imagine that you are fighting, angry, your pulse rate will go higher. Inside, just imagine you are dying, that you are just going to die. Become silent and feel death descending. Your pulse rate will come down. The pulse rate is a physical thing, and you were just imagining. Imagination is not unreal, it is also real. If you can really imagine, even real death can occur. If you can really imagine, you can affect physical things. Do this experiment. Fall down on the ground, lie still, and feel you are going to die. The body is becoming dead. By and by, you will feel a heaviness coming over the body. The whole body will become a dead weight, a lead weight. Tell yourself that even if I want to remove my hand from the position where it is, I cannot move it. Then try to remove it, and you will not be able to do so. Now the imagination is working. In this state where you feel the body has become a dead weight, you can cut yourself off from the world of activity easily. That is why this is suggested. You can now become inactive because you are dead. Now you can feel that everything has died, and the bridge from you to the world is broken. The body is the bridge. If the body is dead, you cannot do anything. Can you do anything without the body? You cannot do anything without the body. Any activity is through the body. Mind can think about it, but cannot do it. You have become impotent. You cannot do anything. You are inside, the world is outside, the vehicle is dead, and the bridge is broken. In this state of the body being dead and the bridge being broken, your energy will start moving inwards, because there is no way to move out. The outer way is closed and blocked, so now you move inwards. See yourself standing at the heart center. Look within at the details of the body. You will feel very strange when for the first time you can look from within your own body. Tantra, Yoga, Ayurveda, all the old physiologies, all the old physiological doctrines, their work was revealed and made known through such inner meditative techniques. Modern physiology is known through dissection, but ancient physiology was known through meditation, not dissection. And now there is a school of very avant-garde medical thinkers who say that when you dissect a body and come to know something, you come to know something which is dead, and whatsoever is inferred from a dead part is irrelevant to a live body. They may be right. If you take my blood out and then examine it, you are examining dead blood. It is not the same blood which was in me. Outwardly it is the same, but in me it was a live process, a live current, alive, part of a mechanism of an organic whole. Now it is dead. It is as if you pull my eyes out and then examine them. When they were with me, I was behind them and in them. Now they are dead stones, and whatsoever you come to know about those eyes is not about my eyes, because the basic, essential part is missing. I am not there. Those eyes were part of a big whole. Their whole quality consisted in being part of a big whole. Now they are independent, not part of anything. The pattern is lost. The live contact is lost. All the traditions of yoga and tantra say that unless you can come to know the living body, your knowledge is false. But how to come to know the living body? There is only one way. You enter into yourself and move within to see the details of the body. A different world was revealed through these techniques, an alive world. So, the first thing, be centered at the heart and look around at your body, move. Two things will happen. One, you will not feel now that you are the body. You cannot feel it. You are the observer, one who is aware, alert, looking at, not being looked at. For the first time, the body will become just a clothing. You will be different from it. And the second thing, immediately you will feel, I cannot die. This will seem strange, using a method, an imaginary method of death, and then coming to the deathless point. You will come to know suddenly, I cannot die. You have seen others who have died. What happened to them? Their bodies became dead. That is why you inferred that they were dead. Now you can see that the whole body is lying dead, and you are alive. So bodily death is not your death. The body dies, and you move on. And if you persist in this technique, the time is not very far away when you can come out of your body and look at your body from without, at your body lying dead just before you. It is not very difficult. Once you experience this, you will never be the same person again. You will be reborn. You will become twice born. Now a new life starts. I was telling you yesterday about one astrologer who had promised to work on my life's birth chart. He died before he had done it, so his son had to prepare the chart, but he was also puzzled. He said, "It is almost certain that this child is going to die at the age of 21. Every 7 years he will have to face death. So my parents, my family, were always worried about my death. Whenever I would come to the end of a 7-year cycle, they would become afraid." And he was right. At the age of 7, I survived, but I had a deep experience of death, not of my own, but of the death of my maternal grandfather. And I was so much attached to him that his death appeared to be my own death. In my own childish way, I imitated his death. I would not eat for 3 days continuously, would not drink water, because I felt that if I did so, it would be a betrayal. I loved him so much, he loved me so much, that when he was alive, I was never allowed to go to my parents. I was with my maternal grandfather. He said, "When I die, only then can you go." He lived in a very small village, so I couldn't go to any school because there was no school. He would never leave me, but then the time came when he died. He was part and parcel of me. I had grown with his presence, his love. When he died, I felt that it would be a betrayal to eat. Now I didn't want to live. It was childish, but through it, something very deep happened. For 3 days I remained lying down. I would not come out of the bed. I said, "Now that he is dead, I do not want to live." I survived, but those 3 days became a death experience. I died in a way, and I came to realize, Now I can tell about it, though at that time it was just a vague experience. I came to feel that death is impossible. This was a feeling. Then at the age of 14, my family again became disturbed that I would die. I survived, but then I again tried it consciously. I said to them, if death is going to occur, as the astrologer has said, then it is better to be prepared. And why give a chance to death? Why should I not go and meet it halfway? If I am going to die, then it is better to die consciously. So I took leave from my school for 7 days. I went to my principal and I told him, I am going to die. He said, what nonsense you are talking. Are you committing suicide? What do you mean you are going to die? I told him about the astrologer's prediction that the possibility of death would confront me every 7 years. I told him, I am going into retreat for 7 days to wait for death. If death comes, it is good to meet it consciously so that it becomes an experience. I went to a temple just outside of my village. I arranged with the priest that he should not disturb me. It was a very lonely, unvisited temple, old, in ruins. No one ever came to it. So I told him, I will remain in the temple. You just give me once a day something to eat and something to drink, and the whole day I will be lying there waiting for death. For 7 days I waited. Those 7 days became a beautiful experience. Death never came, but on my part I tried in every way to be dead. Strange, weird feelings happened. Many things happened, but the basic note was this, that if you are feeling you are going to die, you become calm and silent. Nothing creates any worry then, because all worries are concerned with life. Life is the basis of all worries. When you are going to die anyway one day, why worry? I was lying there. On the 3rd or 4th day, a snake entered the temple. It was in view, I was seeing the snake, but there was no fear. Suddenly, I felt very strange. The snake was coming nearer and nearer, and I felt very strange. There was no fear, so I thought, when death is coming, it may be coming through this snake, so why be afraid? Wait! The snake crossed over me and went away. Fear had disappeared. If you accept death, there is no fear. If you cling to life, then every fear is there. Many times flies came around me. They would fly around, they would creep over me, on my face. Sometimes I felt irritated and would have liked to throw them off, but then I thought, what is the use? Sooner or later, I'm going to die, and then no one will be here to protect the body. So let them have their way. The moment I decided to let them have their way, the irritation disappeared. They were still on the body, but it was as if I was not concerned. They were as if moving, as if creeping on someone else's body. There was a distance immediately. If you accept death, a distance is created. Life moves far. Away with all its worries, irritations, everything. I died in a way, but I came to know that something deathless is there. Once you accept death totally, you become aware of it. Then again, at the age of 21, my family was waiting. So I told them, why do you go on waiting? Do not wait. Now I am not going to die. Physically, someday I will die, of course. However, this prediction of the astrologer helped me very much because he made me aware very early on about death. Continuously, I could meditate and could accept that it was coming. Death can be used for deep meditation because then you become inactive. Energy is released from the world, it can move inwards. That is why a death-like posture is suggested. Use life and use death for discovering that which is beyond both. There is no death, the body is dead if you are not there, just like when you are sleeping, but you are alive and will be alive forever.